Hi everybody, Todd from TS Wood & Leather. As most of you know, I'm a commercial pilot for my day job. So like the pilot geek that I am, I've decided to name all of my pattern cutting boards and cheese boards after famous aircraft. So this pattern, the black and white pattern, I've named Blackbird after the SR-71 Blackbird. What do my pattern cutting boards and cheese boards have to do with this legendary aircraft? Absolutely nothing. I'm still building up inventory for my website store. That's at tswoodandleather.com. These boards and many others will be available on the website very shortly after this video goes live. As usual, the process starts by me resawing rough sawn lumber down to the dimensions that I need. Having a plan and materials list ahead of time really helps, so I don't have to constantly move machines back and forth. In a small shop, having to set up a machine and then move it and then go back to it later because you forgot to cut or plane a piece can be a colossal waste of time and energy. Next we'll go to the planer to get rid of the saw marks and true up the pieces. Then it's to the table saw to cut the final strips for the glue up. I'll have a list down below of all the tools that I use, materials that I use, wood suppliers, and dimensions for the pattern that I'm making right now. These fancy tools make life a lot easier and quicker, but I started off with a $30 sander and a borrowed jigsaw. My point being, don't worry about the tools. Just get out there and make something. You can still make great stuff with smaller hand tools. It just takes a little bit more time and effort. I get a lot of questions asking me about what kind of tools I use. We're going to talk about the tools later in the video. I'll be quiet now. Enjoy the glue up. So I got the hole started and squared on the drill press, but my drill press can't handle super long bits. Standard drill bit's only about 4.5 or 5 inches long. You're going to need a 6-inch drill bit for these cheese boards. At least a 6-inch, 1/4 inch diameter drill bit. You can see I put a piece of tape on mine so I know how deep to go. I highly suggest getting 2 of these drill bits. They're only about $6 a piece. And don't go very deep, about 1 inch at a time. I got one stuck and it was almost impossible to get it out. So next I need to determine where to cut the slot. So here I have the hardware with the wire already attached. So I measured it and determined I need to cut the slot 3 3/8 of an inch in from the edge of the board to make the slot line up with the wire. So I want to cut the slot for the wire at an angle. I want it deep enough where the rod goes in so it's easy to get the end of the wire over and the other end to keep the handle above the tabletop.
To keep my elevation spacer in place, because I noticed it's going to slop around and I don't want to screw up the cuts from that, I'm going to take some double stick tape. This is X-Fasten. It's a really good product. It's more fabric than plastic, and it'll hold it securely in place.
So I put the double stick tape on the whole length of the spacer, and then I'm going to put that against the back fence of my cutting slit. Now the blade is going to go through it, but because there's tape on both pieces, it's not going to go anywhere, and it's going to keep everything nice and stable. Kind of hard to visualize from my explanation, so I added a couple pictures. You'll get the idea.
So that's how it's going to look. So I got the right spacing, so I'll go ahead and cut the rest of them.
Some of the tools that I use in the shop are the Rikon 14-inch 10-326 bandsaw. This isn't a Laguna, but it also doesn't cost $20,000. It's a great bandsaw. I love it. Also, I use the Bow Pro bandsaw guide. I don't know how I lived without this thing. It puts pressure against the board without getting your hands in there. It's awesome. And the basic model, like this one right here, is only like $80. I also have the DeWalt 735 planer with the Helix head from Bird Tool. You can either get the head by itself or you can buy the whole thing directly from Bird Tool. It's expensive, but it's awesome. You'll never regret it. My compound miter saw is the Makita LS1219. One-hand adjustments, can cut left and right bevels, and you can put it all the way up against a flat wall.
All right, we're done at the router table. We got nice round overs on both sides. I got them a little deep, so I got the edge of the router bit, but that's okay because we have to start sanding. So I'm gonna start with 80 or 100 grit. Take these to at least 240, maybe 300 or something. They're already really smooth going through that Helix planer, so it won't take too much. And before I finish the last round of sanding, I'm gonna go ahead and burn in my logo and then do the last round of sanding, make that nice and sharp. And then they go in the dunk tank to soak up some mineral oil for a night. And then all that's left is installing the hardware.
Now we just need to install the hardware. That hole that we drilled is where the rod goes through. The reason we had to cut the slot so deep is so we could get the wire loop over the end of that rod. Now you're going to need a light, and it's going to take a little finagling to figure it out, but you just slide that wire down in there and put the rod through it, and that'll secure it in place. Once you have the loop end of the wire attached, all you have to do is put the other end of the rod into the handle. Once it's in there all the way, then you just twist the handle up and put the wire in place. It gets really tight. Don't get your fingers in there, and it'll over center and kind of lock in place. I must have measured and cut my slot right because it lines up perfectly. Last thing I need to do is secure the handle with a set screw. There's a tiny little hole in the end of that rod. Just line up the screw and tighten it down, and I have one cheese cutting board. Only 7 more to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
8 cheese boards to go with my wine.
8! Everything I've ever needed to know as I learned from Sesame Street.
So while I'm at it, I decided to finish off a couple of the cutting boards that are the same pattern as these cheese boards. All these will be available for sale on my website. That's tswoodenleather.com. 8 cheese cutting boards and 2 full-size cutting boards in the Blackbird pattern. They are beautiful. As always, if you like this content, like, subscribe, send to a friend. Until next time, love ya. See ya.